Hello, welcome to FHE on the Road with Christine Stevenson. This podcast is designed to connect the people and the places from the past with your lives today, with 5-minute stories and facts from church history. Save these stories for when you are traveling through these areas to bring history to life. Okay, welcome back to FHE on the Road with Christine. Today I have a fun story about the Detroit, Michigan temple. Actually, every week I try to do 2 stories. I try to do a lesser known history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Sometimes it's about a person or different places, different fun stories that we don't normally hear about very often. So I try to do that, and then I try to do a story on the temples throughout the world. It's kind of fun because this week those 2 things combine. And I just learned this about the Detroit, Michigan temple, and I loved the connection to church history. So this is Lucy Mack Smith's connection to the Detroit, Michigan temple. I would not think that Lucy Mack Smith would have much connection to the Detroit, Michigan temple, but she does. So it's kind of fun. Lucy Mack Smith, the mother of the prophet Joseph Smith, had a brother that lived in Michigan. In 1831, Lucy and her family traveled to visit her brother. His name was Stephen Mack, and he was the founder of the town Pontiac, Michigan. So I thought that was pretty cool. And Stephen Mack was a proprietor of a large mercantile in Detroit, Michigan. He ended up building a turnpike from Detroit to his farm in Pontiac at his own expense. So another little interesting fact, the road that Stephen Mack had made is now the road that runs in front of the Detroit, Michigan temple. Isn't that so fun? The road is named Woodward Avenue. What are the chances that Lucy Mack Smith's brother would build a road that runs right next to the temple almost 200 years later? Isn't that pretty amazing? I thought it was pretty cool. Pretty fun to make those connections. That is like one of my favorite things about learning these fun stories. I just want to give a little bit of background, a little bit more background on the Michigan temple. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints bought the land that the Detroit, Michigan temple is on in 1956 for a stake center. It was an 8-acre lot, so it was a pretty big lot. The stake center did not need that much land, so much of that land was not being used at all. It was discussed that the rest of the land should be sold, but the stake president at the time, George Romney, felt strongly that the land should not be sold. So fast forward a couple decades, and the stake president, Thomas C. Biddle, was in charge of finding a temple site, and he looked at a bunch of different properties and felt nothing. He did not look at the lot that the church owned because he thought it was too small for a temple. He decided to look again at the property next to the stake center and had it measured, and it was just the perfect size. He said, quote, "The more I looked and contemplated, the more it seemed to be the right location. It was as if the land had been hidden, waiting to be discovered at the right time." End of quote. Isn't that incredible? From Lucy Mack Smith's brother, Stephen Mack, to the land being hidden from the world for all that time to have its purpose be a temple of the Lord. It is such an incredibly special place, saved and prepared by our Heavenly Father for His purposes. At the groundbreaking ceremony of the Michigan Temple, President Bithell said, quote, "To the best of my knowledge, nothing has ever been built on this property. It is sacred ground, preserved for this very purpose." End of quote. I thought that this information about the Detroit, Michigan temple was so fascinating. I love studying Doctrine and Covenants because connecting the past to the present is one of my favorite things to do. And these stories, like the land of the Detroit, Michigan temple, I would never have thought in a million years that Lucy Mack Smith's brother was one of the first settlers in Pontiac, Michigan. It's so fun to hear that story. And there are stories of Lucy going up and visiting him. I would never think of Detroit, Michigan as a church history site, but that temple was preserved and saved for this day to be a temple of the Lord. And I think it is so incredible. I love how the Lord works, that He has a plan and purpose for His saints and for His temples. And you can see that so obviously. And I love learning these stories. I thought it was pretty cool. Little tidbit on the Detroit, Michigan temple. Hopefully you liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah, thanks. Thank you for listening to FHE on the road today. We hope you enjoyed what you've heard. Please like, subscribe, and share with anyone who'd be interested in these stories. Thanks.